Now we're going to review the superlative form. And as we do, I continue to use the Azar Grammar series, Basic Grammar, from Betty Azar and Susan Hagen. So the superlative form, remember, first, comparative is for two people or two things. We say, my brother is older than me. The superlative form, which is our focus for our review today, is Grandpa is the oldest of all, right? The oldest, right? And remember, superlative is when we are comparing more than two things, right? So we have those examples, right? Grandpa is the oldest member of the family. This is one form of the superlative. We have the, and we have old with est at the end, oldest. The other form of the superlative, grandma is the most beautiful person in the family. The most beautiful, right, is our superlative form. So we have the most and the adjective beautiful. So what is this form? Remember, the superlative is to compare more than two things, people or places or things, anything, right? And we have the at the beginning, and with the adjective, we have est at the end of the adjective for short adjectives with one syllable, and with adjectives that end in y. All other adjectives that are longer, we say the most adjective, like the most beautiful. Okay, so let's review the rules, the specific rules for each of those, as well as the irregulars, and then you will practice. So the est form. We use the est form with adjectives with one syllable. For example, old, the comparative is older, and so the superlative is the oldest with est at the end. Okay, and then what about with an adjective like big? Right, remember the short adjective big, right, ends with consonant, but before the consonant we have a vowel. We look again before one more. We have a B, which is a consonant. When we have those three, consonant, vowel, consonant, we need to double the last letter. And so we have two G's, right? The biggest. Okay. Then we have our adjectives with Y. Do you remember what happens with the adjectives with Y? What happens? For example, we have pretty. Remember, the Y is dropped, and we change that Y to the letter I, and then we add our ending. So for the comparative, it's prettier, and for the superlative, it's the prettiest, est. Okay, another example, easy, right? So easy, comparative is easier, and superlative is the easiest, right? Nope. The easiest. Okay, so this is when we add the est, right? For adjectives that have one syllable and, right, one syllable, and adjectives that end in y, right, that end in y. So for these, we need the and est. Okay. For adjectives with 2 or more syllables, right? So the longer adjectives, what do we do? For example, expensive, right? So the comparative form of expensive is more expensive. Now the superlative form, right? Comparing 2 or more things, or more than 2 things, right? We have the most expensive. Okay. So then important, what would important be? Of course, comparative first, more important, and superlative is the most important. So remember, you're counting the sounds, right? Important has 3 syllables. Syllables is the sounds, how many sounds in the word. So for all adjectives with 2 or more syllables, we put the most in front of the adjective. Okay. Now, there are a few irregular adjectives that do not follow est or most. We can't use either of those with these irregulars. For example, good. Do you remember the comparative form of good? It's good, better. Superlative form is best or the best, right? So then bad, the negative, the opposite of good, bad. The comparative is worse. And the superlative is the worst. Okay. One more, we have far, right? You may not use this adjective as often, but for your information, far, remember the comparative form is farther or further. Both are correct. You can use either one. So superlative form here, the farthest and the furthest. Okay. So from here, you're going to continue and practice questions mixing these forms, mixing est and most, and maybe some irregular adjectives. All right, good luck.